All right, Venn diagrams. So we've talked a little bit about what Venn diagrams are in this class so far this week. So there's a couple things though that to have a Venn diagram, this is what you must have in order to make a Venn diagram. Number one, you must have a minimum of 2 circles, and these circles must overlap or intersect, however you want to say it, okay? So that's the first thing that you have to have in order to have a Venn diagram. And number 2 is that there must be something in common between the 2 things, let's call them things, whatever it might be, things you are comparing. Okay, so that's basically the 2 requirements to make a Venn diagram. You have to have 2 circles, a minimum of 2 circles. You could actually have 3, and then they have to overlap one another. All right, and so if you have that, and then whatever the things that you're comparing, those things must then have something in common with one another. All right, so let's go ahead and let's set up a Venn diagram and let's practice exactly what we've been doing in class the last couple of days. So you're going to have 2 circles here. And like I said, the 2 circles are going to have to intersect with one another, or they're going to have to overlap one another. So you're going to have 2 circles like this. All right, and then whatever the 2 things that you're comparing, they have to have something in common with one another. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a Venn diagram comparing these 2 things. We're going to compare shapes, and we're going to have 6 shapes that we're going to compare. So these are the 6 shapes that we're going to compare. We're going to have the letter E, which is going to represent equilateral triangles. Equilateral triangle. We're going to have the letter I, which will represent isosceles triangles. Letter S, which will represent square. R, which will represent rectangle. T, which is going to represent a trapezoid shape, which is known as a trapezoid. That one might be new to you. That's okay. We'll go over what it is. And the 6th shape is going to be, let's see, I've already used up R. Let's use H, which will be a regular hexagon. And what we're going to do is we are going to take these shapes and we're going to put them in our Venn diagram, knowing that the first circle is the circle on the left is going to represent shapes that has at least 1 pair of parallel sides. And the circle on the right, what we're going to put in the circle on the right is any one of these 6 shapes that has at least 1 pair of congruent sides. All right. So first thing, let's talk about what does the word congruent mean. Should be a word that you have heard before, and if you're unfamiliar with it, here is what the word congruent means. It means that the same, equal to, okay? So the word congruent means the same. length. Just the same. Equal to. So congruent is another way to say that two items, shapes, lines are the same as each other. They're equal to each other. And if you've never seen this symbol before, if you put an equal sign and then you put a squiggle line above the equal sign, that symbol right there, the equal with the squiggle above the equal sign, that is the symbol for the word congruent. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of these shapes, starting with equilateral triangle. And remember, triangle means that you have three sides, and equilateral means all sides are equal. So an equilateral triangle is a three-sided shape, a triangle, where all sides are equal to each other. And a way to represent it would be to draw a triangle, and if you put the three same tick marks, I call those tick marks, on all three sides, that's telling you that all three sides of that triangle are equal to each other. So let's go through this. So if I have an equilateral triangle, yes or no? Does an equilateral triangle have at least one pair of parallel sides? The answer is no. So I cannot put equilateral triangle anywhere in that left circle. Does an equilateral triangle have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is yes. Okay, it actually has three congruent sides. So it has one pair of congruent sides. So the letter E, equilateral triangle, is going to go right there. Anywhere in this space right here. This space right here, which I put the green E in, that represents any shape that has at least one pair of congruent sides, but does not have at least one pair of parallel sides. Okay, let's go to isosceles triangle. Once again, the word triangle means we have three sides to the shape, and the word isosceles means that two out of the three sides are equal. So two out of the three sides are equal. All right. The example that I gave the other day in class was a TP. So a TP, or maybe a pizza slice, is a decent example of something that's an isosceles triangle. And the way that we show that is we put tick marks on two of the three sides, indicating that two of those three sides are congruent. That would be an isosceles triangle. Okay, yes or no? Does isosceles triangle have at least one pair of parallel sides? That's no. There's no parallel sides. Does it have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is yes. We have a pair of congruent sides. So we're going to put the letter I in the same portion of the Venn diagram that the letter E is. Okay, let's go to square. So we all know that a square is a four-sided shape. We know that all the sides of the square are going to be the same as each other. And we know that the top side of the square is always parallel with the bottom side of the square, as indicated by those arrows. And we know the left side of the square is always parallel with the right side of the square, as indicated by the arrows facing a different direction. Okay, so for a square, yes or no, does it have at least one pair of parallel sides? The answer is yes. Top and bottom are parallel, that's a pair. Left and right are parallel, that's a pair. It actually has two pairs. For a square, does it have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is yes, it does. So both of these criteria are in common for a square. So what we do is we put the square in the middle part, the common part of the Venn diagram. All right, a rectangle. So a rectangle is a four-sided shape. It's kind of like a square, but there are some differences between a rectangle and a square. In a rectangle, the top is the same as the bottom. We're going to indicate that with those tick marks. But the left side is the same as the right side, but the left side and the right side are going to be different than the top and the bottom. So we indicate that with a double tick mark. Just then, that indicates that the left and the right, because they have the same double tick marks, that means they're the same, but they're different from the top and the bottom. Okay, in a rectangle, the top side is always going to be parallel with the bottom side, indicated with those arrows, and the left side is always going to be parallel with the right side, indicated with the arrows. So let's go through and let's answer yes or no with the two criteria of my Venn diagram. Does a rectangle have at least one pair of parallel sides? The answer is yes. The top is parallel with the bottom. That's a pair, so it has at least one. Left and right are parallel as well. Does a rectangle have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is yes, it does. The top and the bottom are congruent. That's a pair of congruent sides. So the rectangle, both of these criteria are common in a rectangle. So we're going to put rectangle in the common space. Some of us refer to that as the middle, which is fine. Okay, how about a trapezoid? What is a trapezoid? So a trapezoid is going to be a four-sided shape where two of the four sides are parallel. They're not gonna, the parallel sides will never be equal, and the other two sides of the trapezoid are never parallel with one another. Okay, so that is what we would have a trapezoid. So in order for a shape to be a trapezoid, just a trapezoid, you're going to have a four-sided shape. You're going to have two of the sides are going to be parallel. It could be the top, it could be the bottom. It also could be the left and the right side. I'm drawing another example of a trapezoid here, where the left side and the right side are parallel. Basically, you take the trapezoid I drew first, and then you rotate it around like that. Okay, and none of the sides are going to be equal. Okay, so yes or no in a trapezoid. Does it have at least one pair of parallel sides? The answer is yes. In a trapezoid, there always will be a pair of parallel sides. Okay, does it have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is no. In a trapezoid, there will be no congruent sides. So we're going to put trapezoid T over in the section that is only for has at least one pair of parallel sides. Okay, last shape, the regular hexagon. So remember, a hexagon means 6 sides, and regular means all is equal. So hexagon, so what we're talking about here is we are talking about a 6-sided shape, hexagon, where everything is equal. And the way that you would draw that is a 6-sided shape. If it's regular, it's going to look like this. And then you're going to indicate that all the sides are equal to each other by putting tick marks on all the sides. And everything's equal. So that means every single one of those angles, there's 6 angles on the inside of this hexagon, they're all equal to each other. So everything, all is equal. Okay. Now, in a hexagon, the top, if it's a regular hexagon, the top is parallel with the bottom. This top left side is parallel with this bottom right side. And the top right side is going to be parallel with the bottom left side. So let's go ahead and let's answer the questions for a regular hexagon. Does it have at least one pair of parallel sides? The answer is yes. Actually, it has 3 pairs of parallel sides, indicated by the purple, the green, and the red arrows. Okay. Does a regular hexagon have at least one pair of congruent sides? The answer is yes. All the sides are congruent, so it has at least one. So both of these criteria are common for a regular hexagon. So that means we put the letter H right there. Okay, and there we go, you guys. There's your notes for Unit 1, Assignment Number 1.